Before the great champions met beneath the walls of Troy, before Achilles sought immortal glory, and Hector became the shield of Ilios, another destiny awaited. Not for the greatest of kings, nor for the mightiest of warriors, but for a man who would be remembered because he was the first. Long before the war claimed its countless dead, it demanded its first life. His name was Protesilaus, son of Iphiclus, lord among the people of Philice. He would be remembered not for the victories he won, but for the life he left unfinished. And so, our story begins far from Ilios, in the quiet lands of Philice. Protesilaus ruled the people of Philice and its neighbouring towns. Though still young, he had already taken a wife. Later generations would know her as Laodamia. Yet what has endured through the ages is the image of a wife awaiting her husband, and a house left unfinished. While kings prepared for war, a husband prepared to leave the life he had only just begun. The beams still waited. The threshold remained uncrossed. And the home he meant to complete would never be finished by his hand. For even before the shores of Troy had come into view, fate had already begun its work. But Protesilaus would not sail alone. Beside him stood his brother, Protesilaus. Together they answered the summons of the Achaeans, leaving behind the life they had always known. One brother would become the first to set foot upon the soil of Troy. The other would remain to bear the burden that followed. For now, they were simply brothers, bound for the same distant shore. Elsewhere, the ambassadors had returned, their mission unfulfilled. Peace had been refused. The last road to reconciliation had been closed. And so, the Achaean fleet turned once more towards Ilios, not bearing envoys, but an army. Soon, the shores of Troy lay before them. At last, the long voyage was ended. Beyond the waters stood the walls of Ilios, overlooking the plain. Here, the long-awaited war would finally begin. For those who came by sea, this was the shore they had sought. For those who stood behind the walls, it was their home, and between them lay the silence before the first blood was shed. As the Achaean fleet drew nearer to the shore, an ancient oracle was remembered. The first among them to set foot upon the soil of Troy would also be the first to die there. No man questioned the warning, and every warrior understood what the first step would cost. The oars fell silent, The ships drifted towards the shore, and no man moved. Not because the Achaeans lacked courage, but because every man knew what awaited the first among them. Before them lay the land they had crossed the sea to reach, yet the first step had become the heaviest. For the first man to set foot upon the soil of Troy would give his life before any other. Beside him stood his brother, Protesilaus.
Lead them well.
No boast was spoken, no promise was made, only the quiet certainty that someone must go first. And Protesilaus accepted his fate. Then Protesilaus stepped forward and became the first of the Achaeans to set foot upon the soil of Troy. In that single moment, the years of oaths, the gathering of kings, and the long voyage across the sea gave way to war. The threshold had been crossed, and the prophecy had found its first man. The first to stand against him was Hector, son of Priam, guardian of Troy, and foremost among her defenders. He came not in hatred, but in defense of his homeland. There, upon the shore, courage met courage, and almost as swiftly as Protesilaus had claimed the first step, fate claimed him in return. By the hand of Hector, Protesilaus became the first of the Achaeans to fall. He was not merely the first to die. He was a husband, a brother, a commander, a man whose home still waited for him. The prophecy had been fulfilled. And the war had claimed its first life. But the shore of Troy had only begun to drink blood. For beyond the first fallen, another champion was already moving toward battle. Every life must one day face its own uncertain shore. May we face ours with courage. I am Callianera,